All right. Well, folks, if you're joining us here live in the YouTube chat, congratulations. I have the best freaking job in the world, as everyone is well aware. And I am here with my friend and wrecking crew member, Kevin Mathers,
Hey
to
there.
talk about the WSOP schedule, which just dropped today. We got Mr. KevMath in the booth. This is the first public appearance. He's fresh off a crazy day. He's here. Welcome, Kevin Mathers, back to the Rec Poker Podcast.
Thank you very much, Jim. It is always a pleasure to be on the Rec Poker podcast, and as one of the members of the Wrecking Crew, it is an honor to be one of the. I'm on the outskirts of the Wrecking Crew. I'm not the most active member, unfortunately, but it's this is the time of year when people want to talk to me. So I'm honored. You're the first. You get the first crack at me.
That is so cool, and you fit right in here, brother. And your contributions are amazing. I actually talk about you often, Kevin, as someone who has sort of like built their own role in the poker world, and as sort of honestly, as kind of like an aspirational figure for a lot of recreational players out there. So it is so cool that you choose to take this time to break this down with us every year here on the show live. I promise. Regular listeners are familiar with how this has gone in the past. We're not gonna go every event right through the list and talk about each one extensively because we've ended up having Kevin on here for like 3.5 hours before. So we're gonna trim it a little bit down. We're just gonna talk about the schedule. And this interview will appear tonight in the Rec Poker podcast. So, folks, if you're joining us live right now at 4:00 Eastern, thank you so much. Get your questions into the YouTube chat, and then come on back tonight at 9 when we do our usual podcast broadcast and give away some prizes and that kind of stuff. But let's get right into the meat of it. So, WSOP schedule release has happened. It's 2026. People are getting very excited. We've already got, let me see, Benny, Ginger, Golf Shirks, Matt Savage. Hey, right on. Welcome, Matt. And all of you folks in the YouTube chat, get those questions in for Kevin. And this is going to be your chance to talk to him strictly about schedule events. We're going to have him back in May to talk about some of the logistics of like depositing money, wiring stuff down to your tournament account, where the bathrooms are, all the logistics about actually being at the WSOP for the series. The first question, I'm just going to jump right into it. This is from Benny the Jet. He says he'd love to know about the final table of the main. Saw rumors online that it may get pushed off a couple weeks, maybe like an August 9th situation. Yeah, Kevin, I don't know what you're able to discuss with the world, but I've also heard that there might be a bit of a delay between the final table of the main event being reached and then it being actually performed. Do you have any info about that?
Yes. When they announced the schedule today, one of the big announcements was that the final table of 9, the dates are TBD, so to be determined. They won't make that announcement official yet. I think I'm sure they're working on, because there's talks about being televised somewhere. So I don't know if it's going to be like on a cable TV, if it's going to be on a Netflix type of situation, if it's going to be on YouTube. That's all up in the air. But I assume we will find that information out well before we get to before even the WSP starts. I would assume maybe by May we'll get firm details. We'll have the exact dates. It'll be the same format. Basically, it'll be a 3-day final table, play down. 9 plays a 6, 6 plays a 3 or 2, and then they play to a winner the following day. So it's going to be that similar format. We just don't know the wins, but it would be at the Horseshoe. I'm sure unless that changes, that because everything, as we know in poker, everything is subject to change.
Yes, sir.
So, but I will assume it's going to be I'm going to assume it's in the Horseshoe. I've heard similar rumors about being in August at some point, but I don't have anything firm besides that at this moment.
All right. Well, I think that's great. I really miss the November 9 idea of it, where these players had time to prepare, to have the world kind of learn more about them and raise their profile a bit. I think that was lost a little bit when we got back to playing the final table immediately at the end of the event. So it sounds like probably not that long a delay. but a little time off between the end of the event and the final table. And I do think that is good. It gives folks a chance to get some sleep, to prepare a little bit mentally and strategically, and to get some family members down, maybe something like that. So I think depending on how they do that, I think that's actually a very good choice, a very good change. Yeah, get those questions in. We got a nice comment from Ginger saying that we appreciate all the Twitter info that you stay on top of, and that's right. Folks don't know, at KevMath for basically everything to do with WSOP scheduling. And well, do you want to give a little pitch, Kevin? Is there what's your like official portfolio over there, as the Twitters are?
So yeah, I mean, at KevMath, I've been on Twitter about, let's see, it's almost over 15 years now, which is,
You poor bastard.
I've definitely developed a bit of a following over the years. And when you're asking, so like, so last year was like a slightly different role at the WSOP. So, the WSOP has sort of had added more video to their to their program. They do a lot of videos for Twitter and social media. So it's gonna be more. If you see a lot of tweets from me, it's gonna be from my own personal account, or also you'll see me making a lot of posts from on the WSOP Plus app. So it's basically because they don't really want me to, because they're doing a lot of videos, they're doing a lot of shorts, they're doing all sorts of content. So they want less of my presence there, and they want to spread elsewhere. So I'm not clogging up the feed with a bunch of answering the same question several times, when it's I basically sacrificed the Twitter account for that purpose. And and also WSP Plus, which was such a big hit last year, is back again for 2026. So it is your one-stop shop for registration, get your table draw, to look at structure sheets, to get updates, to provide your own updates, add your own chip counts. It's all that in one handy little app. And I know last year there was definitely a bit of apprehension about how it would go, because it was only really used at WSP Paradise in 2024. And there were some hiccups in those first few days, as could be expected, because it was sort of like not everyone knew that basically you had to have a WSP Plus account. But once that got worked out, the issues were not very prevalent, and it definitely made a much better. I think most people had a much better experience in terms of registering, getting seated, not being in a pre-hour line to get a seat. That experience was definitely much reduced from previous years. So I think I think we're just hoping for continued success with the app, like we saw last.
Yeah, I can say that the app's been great. It's made it a much more frictionless experience being in there. So I'm sure that's going to be another big success. First question in from Neil Jaworski. You'll get a kick out of this, Kevin. So when is the 2027 WSOP schedule going to be out? Let's get ahead of this, Kevin. Give us some dates.
Yeah, I mean, if we go by the same tradition as we've seen the past couple of years, I'll break out the calendar here. I'm going to assume it's going to be now next year. The Super Bowl is going to be on Valentine's Day.
It's on Valentine's Day, right? You should drop the schedule that day too, and really just triple bang everybody.
Wow. I have a feeling they'll announce it on the 15th. Now again, things can change. It's things can get whacked, and we could announce it in late December, like we did several years ago, but maybe right after Paradise. But I mean, Paradise sort of delays things a little bit, but maybe early January would be nice as well. But it was sort of saved getting those questions asked.
Neil's first one in. Make sure to get that question in early.
Yeah.
First official.
Yeah. So so that question is answered. So we don't have to answer. I'm gonna speculate. We'll say February 15th, 2027. Get ready for the. I'll be on the Rec Booker podcast. Yeah. We'll discuss the schedule for that year.
I love it. We've got a question from Benny the Jet saying, what would you say is the biggest change to this year's schedule compared to prior years? I know that's not really the hat that you wear there, but just anecdotally, what's jumping out at you?
I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I think they've settled in that they're going to do 100 bracelet events each year. which I think is I know a lot of people have the issue. There's too many bracelets that too many people win bracelets. It's but I mean, if the demand wasn't out there, they wouldn't have this main event. So it's people come out in droves to play the WSOP, and the WSOP people provide bracelet opportunities to as many people as possible. I mean, I guess one of the notable changes is we're starting the WSOP this year with the $550 mini Mystery Millions. Mystery Millions has been a very popular event. The mystery bounty format has been very popular the past couple of years, and there will be a Mystery Millions event, a 1K Mystery Millions held just before the main event, but this time around it's going to be a $550 buy-in, and we'll still have $1 million guaranteed. The top bounty will be $1 million. So,
well, okay, I wasn't sure about that. So, because this is event number 1, the mini Mystery Millions, no limit hold'em. It's a 3-day event, $550 buy-in. And I know they're talking about guaranteeing a bounty. Oh, not only the bounty pool, but actually having a $1 million bounty as part of that. Well, that is phenomenal. That is super cool.
And it's going to be 6 flights. Multiple re-entry flight. You're going to make the money in each flight on day 1, but obviously everyone's going to be going for trying to get to day 2 because that's when the mystery bounties will kick in.
Right. Yeah. And remember, folks, don't go limping into day 2 with a mini stack. Like, you're better off busting, trying to double up and get a stack in these mystery bounties. Don't cash. Don't worry about cashing. Get in there with a stack and take someone else's chips.
And just to know, when you say it's 3 days, because there are 2 flights a day. The first 3 days will have 2 flights. The final flight's going to be a turbo. But then day 2, day 3. So it's not like we're going to start on the 26th and we're going to be done on the 28th. It basically covers the first week of the WSOP.
Nice. Okay, good clarification. I love that. And so that's a new event. We are saying goodbye to a few events. The Battle of the Ages, the 3K 6 Max, the Poker Hall of Fame Bounty. This one's a bummer. I always thought I'd never got a chance to play in it, but I thought it was such a fun event. The 777 Lucky Sevens, the 1500 Shootout, and the 1500 6 Max PLO. So do you get a access to this decision making and sort of like what events get added and what events get lost? Because I will say I'm bummed to see the Hall of Fame Bounty Tournament not continuing, because it's such a great way to rub elbows with the best in the game, and just seemed like a really fun format. But
yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the Poker Hall of Fame bounty went away, because again, it's definitely an interesting, the buy-in, of course, is very unique, and it's you get to play with those Poker Hall of Fame members that are still around and playing, and I think there's about 10 or 11 that usually appear each year. I mean, no, I don't get. I'm not consulted on what events should be added or not. I think, I know on Twitter, people are also upset about the shootout going away, and I think, last year, I think last year was the first time they did two separate flights for the shootout, and I have a feeling that that was hopefully basically to see if that format, having two flights would work better than having just the one single flight. But I don't know if just the numbers weren't there, or I mean, that's usually the case why you see some of these events go away. But like the Lucky Sevens is another one. It's like that was also a very popular event. Especially towards the end of the series. It's unlimited reentry, and people would love to fire that event. Top prize is guaranteed at $777,777.
Right.
So it's a bit surprised, but I mean, there are some interesting events that are added on the schedule this year. So I think. And it's not. They didn't just replace small no limit hold events. There are some. There's an event that I'm sure will be very interesting for people is the Pick Your PLO, which is basically a dealer's choice for. It's all PLO events. So I think people who like playing the great game, as our good friend Joe Ingram would say. Yeah, I'm sure they'll enjoy playing that event. At the $1,500 price point.
Yeah, that's event number 91. Pick Your PLO, $1,500 dealer's choice format. That comes starting on July 9th. That does seem cool. And there are some other new events. There's the GG Million High Roller, which I don't think many of our members will be interested in, but it's a $10,000 buy-in starting at the end of May. There's the U.S. Circuit Championship, which is a $1,700 buy-in event. What's the tie-in from the circuit to the main event to the series?
It is kind of, it is 1,700 is the price point for the circuit main events across the U.S. So I think that's why they use that. I know there was some initial confusion because anyone who wins a circuit ring this year gets a $5,000 package to WSOP Paradise. And one of the events expected on the schedule is the circuit championship, and it's not replacing that. So I mean, basically, the $5,000 package, you basically get entry into it. It's like the circuit championship, and then you get like a select, a certain, you get like 7 nights at Paradise in the Bahamas. So I think that remains intact. I think it just. I'm not sure why they put that in. And another thing that, the timing of that is that July 14th through the 25th is going to be the first time that they've done a WSOP circuit during the summer.
Oh, right.
In Las Vegas. They usually have a 1 or 2 circuit events during the year, but this is the first time it's sort of like extending the World Series of Poker season. I think that's why they did it. So that's going to be at the Horseshoe. It's, basically your standard 18 event schedule. You're going to see some buy-ins that are a little larger than you will see on the regular circuit stop. I know there's like a $5,000 high roller, there's a $3,300 high roller, and also I think there's some events that you usually won't see at a WSOP circuit stop.
Right. The last of the new events, I think, this year is event number 53, the 5-card PLO. That's a 1,500 starting on June 18th. That's another one of those 3-day events. And, I'm sure John Somsky is happy to see more of mixed games getting added as bracelet events. I know that's something that a lot of our members really enjoy. You'd mentioned high rollers. We've got a question here from Matt Savage in the YouTube chat. Are there less high roller events due to this tax change nonsense? Great question, Matt. And I'm very curious to see how the poker world is going to adjust to these new ramifications from the big, beautiful bill gambling problem for poker players. I do think that's going to be a factor for game selection for a lot of players. And I'm very interested to see how operators are going to come and adjust themselves. What's your take on that, Kevin?
Just perusing the schedule quickly. They didn't, of the events that disappeared, none of them were the high roller events. So it looks like it's the exact same schedule of high rollers that you saw last year. So there's we have a $250,000 super high roller, no limit. We have a $100,000 PLO and no limit high roller. We've got 50K no limit and PLO high roller. We've got several 25K high rollers. So the number of high rollers is the same. Now, as Matt mentioned, and as you mentioned, obviously the big beautiful bill is definitely going to cause. You sort of expected there to be a slight decrease in attendance, and I am kind of surprised that we didn't really scale back on. I'm saying we. It's not like I have no say so in what events get removed from the schedule, but it's just that as I will be technically working for the WSOP, I am working for the WSOP, so it's sort of like it gives me that. It makes me appear to be an employee, even though I am not. But
you get to use the royal we. That's all that really matters.
Yes, the royal we. Like maybe you would use with when you're rooting on the Steelers. You're part of the team. So
there you go.
That's exactly. That's how I think of it. I'm part of the WSOP team, even though officially I'm not. I'm only on the team during the summer.
Okay. No, that checks out. I'm with you. I love that. Matt Savage, again, in the YouTube chat says numbers on those high rollers will be way down in his opinion. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, Matt. It's going to be very interesting. Because of course, this will be the first year. 2025 will be the first tax year when you're filing next year for this year. So this is going to be the first time that players are.
Especially American. I mean, you could definitely see American players maybe not as likely to play those events. Those who play, live in countries with they have a tax refund and don't get taxed like the players in the UK and other other European countries. Maybe it'll give them an incentive to play, but because they are charged on they're not taxed on their winnings. So
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So we'll see. But yeah, it is. Like I said, it is a bit of a surprise that there are the exact same number of high roller events as we've seen in the past. And I think I agree with Matt that numbers will probably be down. How much is going to be up in the air?
Right. And there's a segue there talking about numbers being down a bit. I know Canadian travel in particular to the States has been curtailed sharply over the course of the last year. I know in a number of other areas, American tourism is down, travel from international travel to the States for a number of reasons. Is there any conversation, Kevin, in the marketing halls, in the branding areas, when it comes to like communication outside the series? Is this something that's being discussed or planned for, or is it even a topic of conversation?
I mean, I would think among the WSP higher ups, I'm sure they do talk about those type of things. Again, I'm not in the boardroom when these discussions are held.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm sure they have a bit of concern, and I think, and rightly so. Like I said, people have various issues with the current political climate in the U.S. And I mean, it's sort of like we'll see how much that affects the attendance this year.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do think that it seems like there's more re-entry events. The app makes it much easier to re-enter and to rebuy. So it wouldn't surprise me if there were more like re-entries into a lot of the tournaments this year. I'm not sure there'll be as many unique players in them for the reasons that we've talked about, but I can still see a lot of those re-entry dollars in the prize pools.
Yeah. And people who look closely at the schedule, you'll see there's definitely you'll definitely have more opportunities to enter and re-enter. There's some events that add more flights, and have added instead of having, like, for example, the Monster Stack is an example. Last year there was no same day re-entry, same flight re-entry, I should say. This year there is one re-entry per flight. And there's actually day 2 registration for the Monster Stack, which has not been the case in the past. They are playing 10 levels instead of 11 in previous years, but you'll still have one level to get in. So I know late registration has always been an issue with a lot of players have had. They feel that registration is too long, and I think from what I look at it, it looks like it's relatively the same, or is actually slightly increased in some instances, like the Monster Stack.
And so I think just by kind of glancing at the schedule, and I haven't done a deep dive into the structures or anything like that. It just came out a few hours ago, of course. But it does seem like there's maybe fewer freeze outs, more additional flights, more ability to re-enter. So I think, like it or lump it, that is the trajectory that a lot of these large tours are moving into. And people say that the freeze outs are more kind of rec friendly because you can't just keep firing and taking flips and trying to build a stack. Mm-hmm. I do think that there's a good balance for that to be had, but it is a concern. And it sounds like you'd agree that there's a general movement away from freeze outs and into having more opportunities to re-enter, whether it's through multiple flights or from just loosening up how many re-entries you get in events.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that point. But I think one event that definitely is staying the same is the main event, and that definitely, if they went to there was definitely a lot of criticism with the WSOP Paradise Super main event, having basically unlimited re-entries and such. That was definitely a big. If they ever went to re-entry, even doing one re-entry, if they did no same flight re-entry, I'm sure a lot of people would be very upset about that. And I think the only way, again, the only way I could see that they would consider adding re-entry to the main event is if they have like a very large guarantee in the prize pool. And that's why it was, that's why there was that was the case at the Super main event. They, there was, I believe it was $70 million. And I mean, basically it had to be at least 100 million and maybe even more, to see something like that happening in Vegas. But, and actually there are, if I look correctly, I don't believe any events this year have a guarantee on the prize pool. I mean, I believe the Gladiators was the only one that had one last year, and that was easily beat. So
that's
I think
interesting.
Again, I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure someone in the chat will correct me, or someone on Twitter will correct me on that. But it's sort of like you set a guarantee, and it's sort of should you even bother saying a guarantee if you're going to just like beat it by 100%? It seems like it wasn't really, as my good friend Alan Kessler would say, that it's a fake guarantee. And so I think I would sort of agree on at that point with WSOP events. It's usually, if it's a small buy-in, has multiple fights, it's going to beat whatever guarantee that they think they would need. They would beat easily.
Now, last year, I remember there was a lot of conversation about the main event. There was that Phil Hellmuth article. A lot of people weighed in about what, does the main event need to change? Should we shorten the levels? Should we allow re-entry? Should we take days off in between? I hope they never do. I think the 2-hour levels are so special and wonderful. I hope they always have 2-hour levels. I hope it's always a freeze out. I hope that they never allow more people to buy in. If they want to have fewer levels per day and spread it out over more days, I think that would be fine. I guess if you had to find something to tweak to make it more palatable to folks that don't want to go through the marathon of it. Was there any conversation? And I know you're not in the room where it happens for this kind of stuff, but is there any sort of like talk in the hallways about, might we consider changing the main event, or looking for ideas on ways to make it more accessible or anything like that? Or is there a sense that it's kind of the holy grail and it's locked in and you couldn't change it?
Yeah, I would think it is. It is the most important pro tournament every year is the main event. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I mean, it used to be in the past. It used to be 100. I believe it was 100-minute levels in the past before they went to 2 hours. And I think you're right. It is supposed to be. It is the most important tournament of the year. It is. It should have more time for people to play. As we saw last year. Michael Wensrocki won the main event last year. And some people have their own opinions on Michael, but he bulldozed his way for that final table. And it was just like, watching it happen in person is just like, it was basically a foregone conclusion. Once he got the chip weight, it was basically over. But I think you're right. I mean, I think it should be more of a, maybe doing 4 levels, but again, you sort of trade it off. It's like, can people get that, if someone goes deep like you did a couple of years ago, sick brag, can people afford to get that extra time off? So it's sort of like,
right.
It's one of those deals where, people maybe have a week, dedicate a week of vacation to play the main event. And if you extend it even further, it's, but it's, I think it's right now it's a perfect balance. I've said it many times, it's like basically every poker player's dream is to play the WSOP main event at least one time. And I know people, said, it shouldn't be $10,000. It should be adjusted for inflation. It should be like $30,000, $40,000.
Sure.
But basically like $10,000. Pretty much anyone can come up with $10,000. There's various ways they can be saving up for years. They could be playing a league with their friends, like someone I know in this conversation. Find a few friends that put up $500.
Yep.
And there's just all sorts of ways to get to buy in, and it's like it's that bucket list item that everyone has, and I've been fortunate enough to play it a couple of times myself, and I'll probably never play it again. But I can happily say I played the main event, and I'm very happy to never play it. If I never play it again, I'm not gonna be upset about that.
Yeah, it is such a special thing. I think I wrote an article, I think it was last year for Poker.org, about the different ways that, people can get into big ticket items like this. And yeah, piling some money away every month for a few years, playing a satellite, playing in a league with friends, getting some backing. There are a lot of ways to do it. And I would just encourage our audience, it's a special thing. It's still just cards and chips and felt and players, but there's something really, really unique. There's something that's unlike any other tournament in the world, and I really do. It's attainable. It is something that you can do, and I would encourage my the listeners to the show here, and my peers, recreational players like me, to find a way to make it happen at one point in your life, because it is a very special thing. We've got a comment here, a question from Ginger, saying, if you could only go down for 1 week this summer, which week would you pick? Ginger, I also do an article every year kind of going down for the Rex guide to the WSOP. I'll be publishing that probably next week, with a few different weeks that have sort of what I think are the best fit of relatively low buy-in events that are still prestige events, and you can get the most out of your travel time when you're down there. So look for that. But Kevin, is there a week or two that kind of jump out at you from a recreational player's point of view that would be the best time to go down for the series this year?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say, basically any weekend is probably going to be maybe showing up on a Friday, or, if you're just looking to play the weekend, showing up on Friday, play one of the later flights. If you make it day 2, then you're pretty much in the money in most instances. And there's usually, if you bust out, there's usually a smaller buy-in, like a smaller buy-in event, a couple of days later that you could enter as well. And, of course, there's plenty of deep stack, daily deep stacks, or other events that are going on around the city that, of course, this is the first schedule to drop. We're going to see all the art schedules coming in the coming weeks. And, maybe Ginger, if there's a particular game that Ginger prefers playing, maybe, you would sort of based on that. Maybe if you like playing Omaha 8 or better, or if you like playing PLO, or if you like playing mixed game, and non-holding games, with 100 events, there's definitely, it's basically the sky's the limit on what time you would want to come down. If you only have a certain amount of money, basically there's buy-ins from $300 up to $250,000. So it's you're not going to be short of opportunities for playing a WSP bracelet event.
Yeah, and they always do a good job of making the weekends kind of marquee events down there. There's usually a $1,500 multi-day. That day 2 is on Saturday. Like Kevin says, you can go down there on Thursday or Friday and jump into a late flight and try your luck. And what is one of the special things about the series is that there's always something else to go play, even if it's not a bracelet event, because of course Vegas goes crazy around this time, and all the other venues are having their own series and that kind of thing. So there's never going to be a bad time. But yeah, look for that next week. Ginger, I'll put that out. And if folks haven't already, join our free community online. If you go to rec.poker, that's all you got to type into the search bar, rec.poker. That'll take you to our new platform over on Circle with a ton of interactive resources. And we'll be talking a lot about schedule building. People in our forums often suggest dates to each other, find people to travel with, save a little money on your hotel reservations and that kind of stuff. So get involved there for free. Just join our free community at rec.poker. Got to give the plug there. I'm so damn excited about this new website, Kevin. Holy cow!
Yes, I've heard good things about it. So I need to look around there a little bit more and see what's available.
Yeah, I would love that. And of course, our members
Rec.poker team have done a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, folks can actually reach out to Kevin directly. Kevin, as a Wrecking Crew member, is available in our community to all members if you've got questions for him and want to tag in there as well. So you don't have to form a Twitter account if you haven't already. There's a lot on Twitter that you don't need these days.
Right,
so
right.
You can get all that you do need over in the Rec Poker Circle community.
That's very true.
Give that a try. Thank you, Kevin. Michael Culpepper says that June 22nd to 27th jumped out for a crew that if you want a little bit of everything, that's a good week to be down there. And yeah, I've found typically one of the last weeks in June tends to be a good mix of low buy-in events. For some reason, it tends to be around when the ladies event is. It's before the main event. And for some reason, there always seems to be a good fit of like 500, 700, up to $1,000 tournaments in that stretch. So the end of June is typically a good time. But like I said, look for my article next week with a little more details about that. We got a question here as well from Brandon Tucker. It says, do you think it'll get crowded having the gladiators event during the main event. So yeah, that was one of the changes that we're looking at this year. Normally closer to the beginning of the event, the gladiators, a $300 buy-in with multiple flights, and it tends to be very, very popular and a huge field. Overlapping that with the main this year. Are you worried about overloading the infrastructure of the cages and that kind of stuff? Is going to be a busy place.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I was, being there almost every day at the WSOP, and like I said, after the first couple of days, I was amazed at how smoothly things were running with the WSOP Plus app. Those people who are using, the indicate there was never maybe there would be a few times when there was a line, but it was like, I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen yourself in previous years, Jim. You've seen how long those lines are. I never saw a line even close to that after the first couple of days. After that, it was, people got in relatively easily. They were using all the various methods that were available through the app. And I mean, again, it's sort of like, as long as nothing breaks down, I don't think there's going to be an issue. But you got your fingers crossed. I'm sure they have it as well, because when they schedule certain, when you have like, especially when you're looking like day 2, 8, 1C and 1D, which would be the bigger days of the main event itself. Maybe not 1C as much because it's July 4th, and that's always been a big problem with the main event. It's like fighting that July 4th holidays. It may make 1A and 1B a little bit bigger than usual, and 1C less, but 1D is always going to be insane. We're going to get several thousand players wanting to put up $10,000, and what, more power to them.
Yeah, God bless.
I think everything will be fine.
Yeah, there was before the schedule drop, there was some rumor going around that maybe the main event would be at the start of the series, and then the final table would be at the end of the series. And I remember thinking, like, bad idea, guys, because there's so many people, not so many people, but several people only play the main event because they have good results earlier in the series. And if you put it at the front, like, you're never going to get those people in the main. So
I never understood that myself. It seems like it's sort of like NASCAR. They had the Daytona 500 yesterday, and that's the big event of their season, is the first event. I mean, I've never understood that myself, but again, it's I don't think of I can't think of a series where you have like the main event at the very beginning. You sort of build your way up to the main event, and that's what makes sense. And that just didn't make sense to me either. Maybe you sort of got people, they got school, they got all of these other commitments. Sort of, the kids are in school still in late May, early June. So doing it in July when basically everyone's out of school. It always made sense to me that you would have you would start the main event in July. But I mean, a concept that could be a possibility. I mean, I think Mike Sexton did this in, several years ago. It was like, you could sort of have the main event start at different Caesars properties. Maybe have like a weekend where it's going to be at, you have like day one flights at Caesars Palace, and then, maybe another week you have them at the Flamingo or whatever. But that would kind of make sense. And then maybe day 2 and beyond would be at the Horseshoe in Paris. But I mean, that's a concept that maybe was a little easier back in, when there wasn't really as much space as there is now. But it was an interesting idea. I don't know if they would ever, pull the trigger on that, but that's the only way I could see them doing something like that, starting like earlier in the series than they do now.
Yeah. I could actually, since you're talking about it, I could see them doing like an earlier flight for a day, like one of the day 1 flights earlier in the summer. I don't think that would take away from like the prestige or the logistics of it for some folks that wanted to come down, see if they made day 2, although again, with the money not hitting till day 4, it's kind of like a fake bubble to make day 2 of the main. So if they're going to combine all the day ones at the end anyway, I guess it doesn't really make as much sense to have earlier flights, because you're coming back and you might not even make the money.
But you can also look at an example like GG Poker. GG Poker does do day 1 flights, before the super, before the super main event in the Bahamas. So I think maybe at some point down the line, maybe if online poker gets more accepted in the U.S., and then you could have something where you have GG Poker does day one flights, around the world, and then maybe something in the U.S. as well. There's like a day one flight online at some point down the road, but until then, it's going to be basically a set those 4 day one flights, and then then obviously the day two ABC and 2D opportunities to enter. But you never know. You never know. It could be something that could get discussed in future years.
Cool. And you've got a new fan, my mom, Martha Reed's in the YouTube chat saying, thanks, Kevin, for being here. And always a pleasure to see you in the YouTube chat there, Mom, my biggest fan. So
I'm honored to be talking with your son, Mrs. Reed. So it's the pressure's all mine.
Yeah. We've got another question from Matt Savage in here. Matt, again, very cool to have you here in the YouTube chat. Another fantastic industry professional who really a mover and shaker in the poker world, coming down and slumming it here on the Rec Poker Podcast YouTube channel. That's fantastic. He wants to know, is Poker Go streaming final tables again every day this year or every event this year?
That is a very good question, Matt. And I think so. One of the big announcements made with the schedule announcement is that there's going to be a free daily stream every day starting on the 26th through the start of the main event. Now, that's going to be on the WSP YouTube channel. Now, I don't know if Poker Go is going to be simulcasting. I don't believe Poker Go has the rights and has exclusive rights to the WSOP like they've had in the past. I could be wrong, and I'm sure someone from Poker Go or someone from WSOP will yell at me in the DMs and let me know that's incorrect. But from what I know, and I think one of the key things that people saw in the past couple of weeks is that Jeff Platt is now working for the WSOP. He's basically sort of taking that role that he had for Poker Go. He's basically serving as a host, and he's going to have some additional duties with the WSOP. So I think we're going to be seeing, with GG, with now GG in full control of the WSOP. I think it's going to be their team that's going to be doing a lot of the streaming, and it's also going to be held at Paris. There's going to be a special studio set up at Paris, so it's going to be interesting to see how that looks. Jeff's just been raving about the stage, how it's going to look, and I'm sure we're going to see some mock-ups of that, as we get closer to the WSP starting, because it's going to start. I believe there's going to be free feature tables. I think Jeff mentioned that today. So, and starting from day one, event one. So it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be highlighting, the big names in poker. So that's how it's going to start. And then, as it works its way down, I'm sure they'll be doing final table pretty much starting on I believe it would be Thursday will be the first day that there's a final table taking place. That would be the industry employees event. That'll be the first event that will have an actual final table, but we'll be seeing a bunch of feature tables, and one big point people will be upset with on Twitter is that they have to pay for this before. There was several way back before Poker Go was even a thing. There'll be a lot of streams that were a lot of final table streams were free. It'd be a website you go to on WSP.com. You can watch the final tables. People are happy. But, sort of like the economics of that sort of, led to being, restricted to having Poker Go serve as a paywall. So I don't know if there's going to be, that maybe, we don't know with the main event, if it's all going to be on this, service, whatever that service is, which again is, I don't know. A lot of us won't know. I'm sure there's a few people that are in the know, but they're not going to let us know until it's ready to let us know. And I don't know that, and I'm one of those people that is not in the know. I won't know. I guess maybe they'll let me know the day before. They'll let me know the day before so I can get, and then it's like the announcement of the announcement type stuff. And a lot of people were not happy about the announcement of the announcement on Friday, but it was like, it's sort of like it's sort of been a tradition. The last couple of years, it's always been that third Monday. It's always been on a Monday, and it was a Monday this year. It was a Monday last year. So we'll see, it'll be shortly. It'll be after. I guess after the Monday after Valentine's Day. Maybe that's the. Maybe that's the. From an earlier comment. Maybe that's when we should just expect that the schedule is going to come out each year.
I like that. Luckily, the Monday is the day that we record the podcast every week. So
yes.
WSOP keeping it in line. I love that.
Maybe they were aware of that and they were waiting for it. They were going to do it, the drop on Friday, but they had the Rec Poker podcast when tapes records on Monday. So they decided, we're gonna let it sit for over the weekend, look it over, make sure everything's good, and then drop it at 9 a.m. Vegas time, and let everyone have at it.
That's probably what happened, Kevin. They probably held it because of our recording schedule. That makes a lot of sense. That checks out.
I agree.
All right. Get your last questions in for Kevin. I promised him we weren't going to do a 2 or 3 hour show this week. And we've got a couple good ones in here already. We are going to wrap this up relatively soon. So do get your last questions into the YouTube chat. And I'll make another appeal, folks. Go to rec.poker, sign up for a free community account in the new Circle platform. We'll be releasing much more detailed resources about the schedule. We'll be going through event by event. We'll be having blog postings there. We'll be having sort of like, we call them study groups, but they're also study groups for travel. So we're sort of like getting together, exchanging notes on structures, where to stay, that kind of stuff, ways that people can save a few bucks, ways that people can celebrate and commiserate with other members. Like I know, Kevin, you're down there for the entire stretch. I've been down there for, periods of the series for the last several years. And it's so much more fun when there's people that you can share it with, even if you're not necessarily staying in the hotel with them. If there's people that are there at the same time that you're there, you can get together for breakfast. You can commiserate when you inevitably bust out of the tournaments. You can, it's always harder than I expect to get together with people in the evenings because you're always hostage to the tournaments. And it's like, if you don't bust, then you're not available. And if you do bust, you never know when it's going to be. So it's hard to coordinate that kind of stuff in advance. But if you kind of know who's going to be down there when you're down there, I do recommend that people treat it as a social engagement, as a social experience. Because of course, it's just going to be you while you're at the table stealing souls. But that's only a small part of the experience. And I really do feel like there's so much about this kind of like summer camp poker lovers convention. The energy there is unreal. And if you're there with some people to help enjoy it and share the experience with, I just think it's a vastly superior experience. So get plugged in and find some people to enjoy it with.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be a Rec Poker meetup at some point during, they'll be scheduled at some point, and when you're there and everyone, all the Rec Poker team, all the Wrecking Crew members, and you're right. It is. Poker is definitely more fun when it's more, it's a more social thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that it's basically life or death, which I can certainly understand. But it's sort of like, it is supposed to be a fun game. But I mean, when you're playing for money, it's sort of it gets a lot more serious.
Yeah, but like I say, that's why I would never tell anyone to go be a tournament pro. I think that's just a crazy idea. Keep poker as something that you love. Recreational players, we've got it best. It's something that we get to enjoy and have fun at and make some money doing. But all the upside and none of the downside. So keep it up. And I love that idea. We got one more question here from Savage. Does Jeff Platt wear makeup? There's no way his complexion is that perfect. I'm going to let you take this one first, Kevin.
Okay. Well, I have not been. I'm not backstage when Jeff prepares for his close-up. So I'm sure he has some sort of. I'm sure they do some sort of things to make him look that good.
Yeah, I've been privileged enough to be close enough for a main event interview with Jeff. It looks good. It's not just TV good. It's not just camera good. That actually looks like a good complexion from this far away. So I don't know if that's a yes or a no, Matt. I think he obviously drinks a lot of water. Other than that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we can really break any news for you, Matt. But a very good question. Any other questions for Kevin before we wrap this puppy up? Kevin, if they often give you permission to play one event while you're down there. Is that kind of how it works, or if you have a day off, or you're not reporting on it or something? Have you circled yours in advance? Do you know what it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little looser than it has been in the past. But the one event I usually play is the $1,500 Super Turbo Bounty. That is the one event I have the WSP cash in. So that's the event I'm definitely looking forward to playing this year as well. 2 of the 3 years I've actually collected a bounty, so it's not like I've lost $1,500. Like I said, I did one year I did actually make the money. I think I made like $30 net from the $1,500 buy-in. But it was more important for me to get my name, get my payout, get my name in the WSP.com, get a profile. So that's going to be I mean, I did play the Gladiators last year. I fired a couple bullets in that. I may play that again. But I usually play the 250 daily deep stacks or the 200, like the 10 o'clock nightly daily deep stacks, which are which can have quite the cast of characters that are playing those events. So, but playing those in Normandy, you're going to get some. It's interesting. It's interesting developments that are happening in those events. So but I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun. Unwind from a busy day on the Twitter and the WSP Plus app, and I'm answering questions when I'm playing tournaments. So it's not like a day off. But I mean, I have days off, but I'm busy doing something. It's not like I should probably enjoy myself and get outside a casino, but it's sometimes it's hard to do that. So I just have that much love of the game, I guess.
It's true. It courses through his veins. And yeah, there is that good value in those daily deep stacks too. There's sort of usually 3 of them throughout the day, various buy-ins, just often full of softer seats than you'll find in the bracelet events. Let me put it that way. And so there's some good value to be had there, and some decent top prizes too. Some of those are going to have a really good score.
And I should also add there are also usually 3 daily landmark satellites, which is basically it's basically a 1 in 10. So it's I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but it's a 580, 240, 130, and basically you can win $1,000, $2,000, or $5,000 in casino chips, which is just as good as cash. So and for the bigger events at 7 o'clock each night, mostly the day before a 5K or a 10K event, or even the bigger events, there will be a satellite the day before into those events. So you can if you want to play the 10K RAS, there's an $1,100 RAS event, the satellite the night before. So you play that when win your way into the RAS for at a big discount.
Yeah, I love that idea. What we got a question from Matt here. What's your title now, and is it the same as last year, or is it a new title?
My official title last year was WSP Plus Czar, so I think that's going to be on my name tag for 2026. I'll have that as well. Maybe I'll be lucky and get a couple of them, but because I usually sometimes lose one in
sure,
because I'm very absent-minded, unfortunately, at times. So, but yeah, it's like I'm just I'm the WSP Czar, WSP Plus Czar, Twitter Czar, social media stalwart. The titles are endless. But I'm gonna be in a sense I'm gonna be like customer service through WSP. So I have to be professional, even though I may not. I don't fly off the handle, fortunately.
No,
I have a very level demeanor. So which is definitely something I need. There's times when I just like to go off on someone, and I can't really do that in public because that would not make me look good. And this will be my 10th year working for the WSOP. So I'm hoping to have we'll see how many more are after that. But I'm happy to have done this for the last 9 WSPs in Vegas. So getting to 10 will be kind of special for me.
Double digits, man. That's amazing. Good for you. And I will say, you throw shade with the best of them. You don't lose your cool, but I've seen you in the Twitter replies, and it's like it's so polite the way that you kind of burn these people. That's a real art. That's a real art form. So we'll keep that up. Keep that up.
I try. I mean, being rude is kind of funny, but it doesn't really. Yeah, I do. I can definitely have my share of subtle response. Subtle like a hammer type of responses on the board. So, but
Kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness,
I
Kevin.
try. I try.
You're great at it. We've got a question from Art Brantes. Are there any added ballrooms this year? And I'll ask a follow-up question. Are there any added bathrooms this year? Because that's the one line that no matter how good the app is, I still think is going to be just as long as previous years. But any other ballrooms and any other bathrooms?
Now, because you're going to be setting up a final table stage in Paris, I assume they're going to use part of the convention center for that. But don't hold me to that. I have heard that there may be a room in Paris that they will use for tables. I don't know how many tables they're going to use, but and the registration area may be a little bit smaller than previous years.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but that's I won't go in that much into detail, but like I assume when the registration information comes out, it's going to be in a slightly different location than previous years. So that's
okay.
Basically take the space that they've used in the past and use that for tables.
Interesting.
So people that remember the Rio, the Miranda room, it was sort of like it was off to the side, and they had I think they may have had 30 tables there, but I don't think it's going to be 30 tables like in Miranda, but they'll have a certain number of tables, and I don't know if it's going to be just overflow or what exactly, because this year day ones are going to be starting. Day ones will be starting in Horseshoe, so they're going to use the event center, those two rooms to start, and then overflow is going to be in Paris. Unlike in previous years, you were starting in Paris and then eventually matriculating your way over to Horseshoe.
That's right. And they've really segregated a lot of the satellites and the dailies and stuff into the promenade and the Normandy rooms or whatever those ones that have the escalators around the side.
Yeah. I'm expecting those will be in the same location this year as well.
Yeah. Well, they've done a good job with it. Ginger says the app was great. It's a great way also just to follow everyone who's playing. That's right. And I will say, if you're not able to make it down, that is one of the perks of the app, is that you do get a chance to follow along with folks. You can get updated chip counts. You can see what table they're at, who they're playing against. Mm-hmm. It's a great feature. And you can also take notes on players that will remain in the app throughout the series. So, and from series to series. So Kevin, like if I put a note on a player from last year, will that note still be in their profile if I encounter them at the tables again in the future?
That's a very good question, and unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that. But I mean, I would think so. But I mean, I guess you have to find out when you're playing events, and then you see that player and just, hey,
right,
oh, I remember you.
There you go. All right. Last question is from my mom. And she says, baby grand piano in the background. Are you going to get back there and play us off here, Kevin? It's a very fancy digs you got there.
I know. I'm moving up in the world. I'm going to get a big raise this year. So, but no, I won't. Unfortunately, I won't be playing us out for the podcast. I'm sorry, Mrs.
Reed. Joey Pigtails, greetings and welcome, pal. We're actually just wrapping up. A miracle. We're going to get out of here in an hour.
I know.
With Kevin. I don't think that's ever happened. I mean, it has never happened. I'm very confident.
Not when we're talking about the schedule. No, last year was a little bit. I mean, we're not going over every event. I mean, I think in May, when we get more information, I think it's more appropriate. We can go over the events that are more suitable for the rec.poker audience. So maybe that will be a little longer but we'll see. I don't mind. I mean, I think an hour seems about right, and wait, in May we'll have plenty of time to look over everything and look over a fine-tooth comb, so we can, we'll know the details about registration and if paying with a credit card or all the other things that I know our good friend Kim Kilroy will be asking about those type of things. So I'll be expecting several questions from her when that time comes around.
Yeah, she's a technician when it comes to that kind of stuff. She definitely knows her edges when it comes to poker travel and moving that money around and paying as little as possible to do it. It's aspirational. I look up to her in so many ways. What a fantastic character she is here at Rec Poker.
Yes,
All right. Well, folks, so yeah, you heard it here first. Come on back. We'll be doing another show with Kevin in May. If you've got more questions, put them in. And of course, like I said, join that Rec Poker new free platform on Circle. Just go to rec.poker, sign up for a free account. You'll find a ton of resources there, not only around the WSOP main event, but of course, around all other things that we love about the recreational world of poker. Most of them are free. We're really putting an emphasis this year on being a better resource to recreational poker players. So we're giving out all sorts of training opportunities, study materials, coaching offers, ways to connect with other players for free and just like help each other build your game up. Like Kevin and I have both talked about several points over the show and over the years of our working together. You know, this is a game that's best enjoyed together with other people. We can all help each other get better much more easily than we can do it on our own. So find your crew, come over to rec.poker, join our group, and I guarantee you'll find some wonderful folks like some of these YouTube chatters. Neil, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I always have so much fun doing this every year, and I sure feel lucky to be on speed dial with the WSOP Plus app, czar, Kevin Mathers. All right, Kevin, any final thoughts for our audience before we pat this baby on the butt and roll on out of here?
Well, you know, when you mentioned all the free opportunities that there are with Rec.Poker, I have to remind myself, if it's free, it's for me.
There you go. Well, maybe we'll see you in one of these Tuesday night opens again one of these days.
Yes, it's monthly now, right?
We opened it up. That's one of the things we're doing. It's every Tuesday night now for free. You don't even need a premium membership. You can come and play in our home game club for free and just hang out over Zoom in a video call, hanging out with other friendly poker players.
I have to get back, and I haven't played an open in ages, so I have to. Maybe I'll show up tomorrow and
there you go.
Dust off my free buy-ins.
I love it. Well, I hope to see you there, Kevin, and if not, another time real soon. Everyone else, thank you for all your support and your wonderful contributions through the YouTube chat. A reminder, if you're watching live, come on back tonight at 9:00 Eastern. This is our news breaking interview with Kevin, but we will be doing breaking news. Exactly. But we will be back at 9 tonight to go over some other new stuff that's coming out, some home game winners, and of course to give away a fantastic prize just for showing up. So thanks to everyone here. Thanks to invisible producer Rob Gardner and all our fantastic chatters. Kevin Mathers, we'll see you all again soon. All right. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Bye.